Hola a todos. Al fin llegó. The one you've all been waiting for. Today, al fin, we're going to talk about Taíno Espiritismo. So I thought I was recording here, but I wasn't! So here are my Taíno TikToks explaining what I meant to say. So you guys asked for it, I'm going to start a whole series on Taíno Espiritismo. Now this is very difficult to research due to colonization, but I do have a lot of notes and I'll begin by posting my old TikTok videos. So in this multiple video series, I'll be going into a deep dive about Taíno spirituality and their pantheon. So firstly, let me introduce who the Taíno people are. They are the indigenous Native Americans of the Caribbean. Due to colonization, a lot of their history was erased, but anthropologists still study the remains of their culture. However, they are not an extinct people, with about 60% of Puerto Ricans and other Caribbeans having Taíno ancestry, and there's been many efforts of maintaining the vocabulary and spiritual practices. Many Taíno symbols can still be seen in modern-day culture, practices, and children's books. So this is part 2 of my Taíno spirituality video series where I'm talking about their pantheon and practices. So on these pages of my Book of Shadows, I tried to write down as many of the petroglyph symbols as I could find. So a little disclaimer, a lot of my notes are in Spanish just because it's easier for me. So you can pause the video and use Google Translate if you really want to know. But here's the basis for their spirituality, which is called Zemidujo. Zemi can be translated into either gods or spirits or ancestors. Zembihi are painted gods, Zemiupiai are ghost gods, Zemini are people gods, and Zemiyai are great gods. So please note in this context that god and spirit are interchangeable due to the nature of the translation. So Zembihi painted gods are sort of like nature spirits. Zemiupiai ghost spirits are your ancestors. Zemini people gods are Taíno chiefs whose stories have turned into their mythology. And Zemiyai are pretty much their deities, which I'll cover next. Also, we need to disconstruct the idea of the Taíno Semi, of their spirituality as deities. As far as I know it, in my researching and in my findings, they perform a sort of animism where nature spirits are manifestations of these different concepts, of non-corporeal concepts in nature, of philosophy, these different aspects such as the hurricanes, such as fresh waters. So they are not deities, however they are nature spirits. They can be thought of in that way, and a lot of Taíno people have personified them, so they have different statues of them in their human form. But the terminology that we use is important, so we do not deify these semi-spirits, however, we do understand them as different aspects of nature. So in this series, I'm going to talk about how the Taíno people thought about these semi, how they integrated them into their practices, into their daily life as well, some of the rituals that they've done, and along with that I'm going to discuss each of the individual semi in their pantheon. So in their own individual videos, I'm going to be discussing each of them, what they represent, how they came about, how they're represented in their sculptures, in their ritual work as well. However, this is a little bit difficult to research because there are Taíno representations in comic books. There's a big representation of them in Puerto Rican culture as well. However, this is more modernized for our modern ideas. Like I said, the Western deification of these different nature spirits. So I want to sort of break that down and think about them in the way that these ancient people, the ancient Taíno, would have thought them instead. And also, I want people to be aware that there are different names for these semi, so according to where you're from, they may have different names, and those are valid for the representations of these semi. Girl, are you okay? What? You want to be the center of attention? Our eyes match! Oh, Keeney. However, because of the anthropology, because of the etymology of these different names and colonization, basically destroying any evidence of the Taíno culture and the names that they would have used, it's very difficult to pinpoint which is which, who is who, and what exactly their name was. Oh, me, you just want attention, huh? You need to be the center of attention at all times. Yeah. And thank you so much for being patient with me. I've been both busy with work and this pandemic and trying to make sure that all my information is accurate. So let's begin at the beginning, the different Taíno creation myths. So according to my research, I'm going to do the most accurate one that I could find. So when I cross-reference and I see different stories are being repeated, that's when I know that this is something that is continuous. So in the Taíno creation myths, you begin with Atabe. This is the creator spirit. She can be known by other names as well. Koiba, Mamona, Atabe, Yaya, Atabex. There's so many different names, so according to where you're from. They believed that in the beginning there was Yaya or Atabe. Like I said, there are many different names for these different Semi, for these entities, and she's basically the creator spirit of the primordial waters. She's the creator Semi. So for the purposes of this video, I will be calling her Atabe or Yaya. So Atabe is basically the mother of the primordial waters, this great creator spirit, and she gave birth to Yukahu Bagwa Maurokoti and Guacar. So these are twin brothers, and twins are very predominant in the Taíno mythology. So a lot of Puerto Ricans know Yukahu Bagwa Maurokoti as the spirit of the rainforest. He's the male ancestor, the male without any previous ancestors. So he incorporates the male spirit, while Yaya Atabe incorporates the female spirit. And he is what El Yunque is named after, is Yukahu. And of course, I'll go into detail about each of the individual Semi-Yayi in later videos, but for now I'm just going to do an overall assessment of the creation myth. So you have the mother of the primordial waters, Yaya or Atabe, and then you have the spirit of the earth, Yukahu, and from them came Yaya El. Yaya referring to the creator, El referring to being born from them. So later on I'll discuss more about Yayael, but Yayael was the son of Yukahu, and he was incorporated into a potisa, a pot, and from that came out all of the oceans. When you spilled open the pot, out came forth all of the fishes, all of the waters, all of the sea creatures in the ocean. Now it's important to note that Yukahu had a twin brother named Guacar. Guacar is incorporated in a sort of underworld. Do not think of this as a hell pertaining to the Hellenistic sort of idea of an underworld either. This is completely different. Guacar deals with caves, so things that are underneath the earth. And he is the Semi of toiling, of hard work, of labor, those sort of things, working into the earth. So this is opposed to Yukahu, who makes things grow up out of the earth. That's why Yukahu is incorporated into El Yunque rainforest and is thought of as the Zemi for growing things and creation in that way. And contrasting that, Guacar is also the Semi for gemstones and things that you find in the earth. Now, I've seen a lot of stories that incorporate Itiba Kahubaba, which is known also as Itiva Tahuvava. This is the ancient mother, the mother of fertility, also known as Mother Earth. So I think she is the Semi of the earth itself, of this planet, and sort of like how you have different ideas like Mother Nature, Father Time, things like that is how I like to envision Itiba. So she's different from Atabe or Yaya. However, I know that in many places it's sort of lost to the sands of time. Who is Itiba? Who is Atabe? Who is Yaya? These are different creator female spirits. So with that knowledge, the Taínos believed that at the beginning there were 3 caves. So I'm just reading them off my notes here. The 3 caves were Amayauna, which was the cave where non-Taíno people emerged out of. Then there was Casiba Hagua, which is where the Taíno people and their ancestral cave came out of. And then the Iguana Boina cave. So this is the cave of Radiant, Iguana, and the Dark Serpent, from which the twins Boinael and Marohu came from, which represent the sun and moon and also the harvest rains and time of clear sun. So a lot of people incorporated the Iguana Boina cave from Itaba Kahubaba. So there are many representations of her womb being this cave. So this is a sort of metaphysical cave where these different creatures came out of, where different Semi came out of. And trust me, in later videos, I'll discuss everything about all these different Semi, about the sun and moon, Goy and Karaya, the twins Boinael and Marohu. There's a lot of twins. So the Tainos believed in different life cycles, so cycles of creation. The first cycle of creation was with Atabe Yaya creating all the semi-spirits and how they incorporated creation into being. The second cycle involved the creation of the weather, the sun and moon, and of human and other semi-ai, zemini, and Zemiubi, all coming forth from these different caves. So these other sort of semi that I'm talking about came through during the third cycle. The third cycle of creation is when Cacique, Behique, and other ancestral legends came about. This is where you get all sorts of different, really rich, amazing Taíno stories, their mythology basically. And then we are currently in the fourth cycle. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be discussing more in depth about the different Taíno stories and their lore in future videos, so stay tuned for that. And as always, I always cite my sources in the description box below, so for this video I'm going to give links to tons of resources, to websites, to different creators, to the Taíno Library, and other people that you can follow. And as always, I have the link tree to all my other social media platforms. I'm much more active on my TikTok. I have a whole bunch of other videos about brujeria and espiritismo, about Puerto Rican culture, everything like that. So be sure to follow me on there because my YouTube channel is more like video essays. TikTok is where I do most of my daily videos there. So if you want more content, make sure you follow me on there. Thanks for watching. Bye!